Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, I did a flash video, it was about 40 seconds long, late last night, just before I went to bed. One of my good viewers, you know who you are, thank you very much, told me about this little bit of news story that came up, where Angus MacNeil apparently had joined Alba. Now, when he got his suspension first from the SNP and then said, well, I ain't coming back until the end of September, such and such or whatever. And then they gave him the full-time elbow, threw him out, basically. I said at the time, and you can go back and look at my video, I definitely did. I said at the time it would not surprise me if he then threw his lot in with Alex Salmond and joined Alba. So, of course, when I got told this last night, my first thought was, haha, I knew it. You heard it here first, folks. Again. And so that's what I've put that story up last night. Now, we're looking at the story today. It's in the Press and Journal. We don't often use them because they tend to be more sort of localised stories rather than sort of big national political stories. But, you know, nothing wrong with the Press and Journal. Very, very old newspaper, of course. But anyway, so that we've got a story from them, which, like I say, is rather unusual for one of them. But it does put the whole story out into perspective, and is not exactly as I suggested it might have been. It's not far off. I was very, very close, but we will take a look at it. We'll see exactly what's going on, and we'll see why Alex Salmond will still be very, very happy. Hopefully, although can anything make him happy? I don't know. Anyway, we'll take a look at the story. Here goes now. So, Western Isles MP and awful human being Angus MacNeil to work with Alba Party in Westminster. And do note, it says work with, not join. He's going to remain as an independent, but he's going to align himself with and have close contact with Alex Salmond and, you know, the party itself. So Angus MacNeil was permanently exiled from the SNP in August after initially being suspended following a row. Veteran SNP Angus MacNeil is to work with Alba in Westminster as part of a Scotland United group, the party says. Well, of course, he is sort of rabidly independence-minded. And that's what you want to be. That's fine. I'm not going to, I'm not going to judge someone for having a different political view. I just have to laugh at the fact that it's the minority view, and it's not one that not only the most people in Scotland object to, but one I feel would be damaging. Damaging not just for Scotland, but for the United Kingdom as a whole, I feel. But, that's a different say. We're not going to get into that. It's a different argument. Anyway, Mr MacNeil is to remain as an independent MP, but will work with Alex Salmond's pro-independence Alba Party. Now, of course, as an MP, he'll be facing an election. It's looking increasingly like it's October, which is what I originally said. I know there was talk about bringing it forward to May, but given how far behind they are in the polls, all the things they need to do, with the fact that there may not be Rishi Sunak in charge very much longer, it's looking increasingly likely it's going to be a later election, so probably October next year. They say current Alba MPs Neil Hanvey and former Justice Secretary Kenny McCaskill will both work with the Naheela Anania MP in the House of Commons. Angus MacNeil was expelled from the SNP in August after initially being suspended following a row with the Chief Whip Brendan O'Hara. The brute in the suit, old Brendan, apparently there was a bit of a physical altercation. Things were thrown, things were said. Generally childish schoolboy behaviour, punch up in the playground, won't be your best friend at lunchtime kind of stuff. Bit childlike. And they both got into it. And neither would apologise to the other, blah, 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 blah. It went on, sort of escalated beyond where it needed to do. Anyway, he ended up with him being suspended, and he said, well, up yours, basically. Anyway, he refused to rejoin the SNP group after his suspension period, prompting his expulsion by the party's Member Conduct Committee. MacNeil says he will stand as an independent at the general election next year. And to be honest, it's going to be a close call because he may well, being an awful human being and all, we've covered his various awfulness before, but he may still well get in. He seemed for some inexplicable reason to be very popular with the people. which is very odd. Anyway, Neil Hanvey, Alba's Westminster leader, said whilst Angus will continue to sit as an independent MP, following his offer to work cross-party on independence, it's only Alba who have responded, and he's now begun working with us under the shared banner of Scotland United. Excuse me. A United Scotland campaign can only make progress if those involved hold a genuine determination, they say, for Scotland to be a normal, independent country. Well, it can't be any way normal. It could be a normal, independent country, but it can't be in any way normal while the SNP are in control, because they are abnormal. Anyway, those who choose devolution or disregard the aspirations of their voters now risk being crushed on the political rocks. Well, the aspirations of their voters, you see, that's a very dodgy ground there, because the aspirations of most people in Scotland is to remain in the Union. So, don't put yourself on quicksand deliberately, is what I would say there, otherwise you will sink. Anyway, he said, our movement is resilient and we will regroup, driving forward to independence with or without them. So who cares? It isn't going to happen, is it? The Alba Party will make significant contributions to contesting the general election next year, but our strategic objective is in the Scottish Parliament elections. You're not going to get anything next year. These people are living in a delusional world of their own, importance. They're not going to. It's just not. Anyone who's independence-minded is just going to vote SNP. There'll be a few, but there ain't going to be many, are they? Deary me. The only reason they've got politicians now is because of defections, but all of them will probably go next time. Anyway, it comes after former SNP leadership candidate Ash Regan announced she would defect to Mr Salmon's political party. Miss Regan, 49, who was first elected as an SNP MSP and served in Nicola Sturgeon's government, becomes Alba's first elected member at Holyrood. Not elected, she walked. She's not been elected to Holyrood for Alba. She walked, she crossed the floor. Dear heavens. They haven't won a single election yet. Not one politician has ever been voted in for that party. Mr Hanvey added, Ash Regan is the first Alba Party member of the Scottish Parliament, but we will be aiming to return a significant block of pro-independence MSPs at that election. Oh, what a shame. No, you won't. Oh, you'll be hoping, you'll be desiring, but you won't be achieving. But the great thing is it does split the independence vote, and it does give the unionist parties a chance to get in, and tactical voting is the key, and you can wipe the SNP off the face of the political map. Anyway, there we go. I thought it was a good story. I thought it was not quite what I thought it was originally. As I say, I do apologise. I was told one thing. I just sort of told one thing, assumed something. Turns out, close, but no cigar. He won't be joining, but he will be working and aligning with. But, that's how it is. Anyway, I shall stop there. I shall run off, and I shall come up. We'll finish the video. The one good thing that comes out of it, of course, is that it shows a strengthening of Alba and Alex Salmond. Now, they can be strengthened without being any kind of threat to the mainstream parties, Labour, Tory, Lib Dem. But they are a threat, of course, to the SNP, because if they go slightly stronger as an independence voice, and some people who want independence but are kind of disillusioned with the SNP will shift maybe across to Alba, and therefore weakening the SNP to such a point, that the SNP then become even less relevant. It means that they're more likely to lose seats, of course, and you're splitting that independent vote, and that will only hearten and strengthen the unionist side. And of course, if you can get any kind of tactical voting from the unionists, it will mean to be honest, if it's good enough and it goes that way, it could even mean that the SNP end up with no MPs. That, of course, would be utterly disastrous for them, because they don't get the money then from Westminster, because they get an awful lot of money each year from Westminster for being a party, which I'm objecting to. I don't see why they should get... Any party should not get public money. If you want to be a party, you rely on the people who are willing to pay their membership subs. Don't be taking public money, because you're basically getting taxpayers who don't agree with your politics to pay for your politics. Quite wrong. If you can't stand on your own 2 feet politically, then that's your own business, not the public's. But anyway, that money, which they desperately, desperately need, because they're absolutely bankrupt. So, of course, if they do badly at the next general election, all that money stops. That's a big money, a big cash flow for them. And that dries up. The well is dry, and they may well go bust. And that would be a damn shame. So, really, we want to sort of thank Alex for being the one that put out and shook the man's hand, shook Angus's hand, and welcomed him into the fold, as it were. And a few more would really, really help. Anyway, we'll stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Nice little start to the day. Clarified a point. I did make a mistake. I do apologise for my mistake, but it wasn't far off. But it is still generally a move in the right direction for the likes of sanity to return to Scottish politics. Don't get me wrong. You probably end up with a Labour government, and they're not entirely sane, but at least they're not obsessionally focused on one issue. Anyway, moving on to the next video. I will speak to you shortly. Bye.